Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's get started with the class.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. Okay. So we have been looking at different types of sinusoidal oscillators, right? Or rather, we started off with the Weinbridge oscillator. I'm sure at least the ECE students, you got to implement it in the lab. Now, there are different types of sinusoidal oscillators. Right? Weinbridge is one. And if you look at these RC oscillators, as they are called as, because you just use resistors and capacitors with some active elements, be it transistors or op amps, to generate these frequencies. Typically, they are limited to some kilohertz range of frequencies, maybe up to 100 kilohertz or something like that. Okay. Now, there is another RC oscillator, which is called as the RC phase shift oscillator. Okay. Now, this is a very simple concept, so let me explain it to you. So this oscillator at a more, what shall I say, conceptual level has got 3 RC networks. Okay. So basically what happens is, we all know that an oscillator is a feedback loop where you have to have a total of 0 degrees or 360 degrees of phase shift, right? Okay. So here, what we need to do in this particular case, what we are going to do, we are going to start with a negative gain amplifier. Now, negative gain amplifier, we all know how to do. You can do it using an op amp. You can do using BJTs. You can do using MOSFETs. Okay. We have studied extensively how to build an amplifier with a negative gain. So now this negative gain amplifier is going to take care of your 180 degrees of phase shift, right? Now, all what is remaining to be done is basically to provide another 180-degree phase shift around this particular amplifier, right? So you have this amplifier, you have the input and the output. So you take the output, you feed it back to a network which looks like this. Okay. Now, all of them are, let's say, C, R, C, R network with a negative gain amplifier. Now, what will happen? So, even without going into the mathematics of it, right? Intuitively, first try to understand this particular circuit, right? What is the understanding that is required here? So, we know that if you take a single RC section, right? This is basically a high pass type RC. You can do the same thing using, low pass type RC also. Okay. But because if you put capacitors in series, you don't end up with any of the biasing issues. It becomes a little more practical to use a high pass type network. Okay, because automatically your DC gets eliminated. Otherwise, you can even have a network like this. Okay, all right. So if you take this network, right, what is V out by Vn of S? It can be written as R divided by R plus 1 by SC, right? And this becomes S times CR divided by 1 plus SRC, right? This is the expression. Now, if you try to find out what is the magnitude, okay, this V out by Vn of S, what is the magnitude of this? So basically, you can say, okay, this is omega RC divided by root of 1 plus omega RC the whole square, right? Basically, you can write it in terms of j omega and then find the magnitude. So let us say this you write in j omega and you take the magnitude. So the numerator becomes omega RC, the denominator, because it's a complex number, because the numerator is purely imaginary, the denominator is complex, and therefore you have something like this. All right. Now, what is the angle of this V by Vs? V out by Vn of, let's say, j omega. Basically, at the top you have a j omega. So if you write V out by V in of j omega, you get j omega RC divided by 1 plus j omega RC, right? So in the numerator you have 90 degrees, right? Because it's purely imaginary, minus tan inverse of omega RC divided by 1, which is omega RC. Okay? This is your angle. Now, basically this section of RC network is going to contribute to some phase shift. Now, how is the phase shift going to look like? I think we have already looked at it, right? So this is a high pass network, right? So let us say the log of f and 20 log of V out by V in of S will look something like this. This point is basically omega RC, or rather, sorry, f is equal to 1 by 2 pi RC, right? And then, oh, I'm sorry, I got confused with the other. Yeah. So basically, this is just a normal high pass filter. So you have log of f, right? You basically have a network which comes like this and then goes like this. This is the pole frequency, which is 1 by 2 pi RC, right? So this is your minus 3 dB frequency. Okay, this is 0 dB. This is minus 3 dB. Similarly, what do you have for your phase? For phase, what happens is basically that you start with, right? Let's say this is log of f. You are looking at V out by Vn of j omega, right? So you start off here at 90 degrees, right? Plus 90 degrees. And then what happens? At the place where you have the pole, it reaches 45 degrees, right? And asymptotically, it is going to reach 0 degrees, right? This is how your high pass filter response is going to look like, right? Now, if you look at this oscillator, I am claiming that this is going to work as an oscillator. Can you tell me what is the required phase shift for each of these RC sections?
So just the addition of the phases of the different RC.
You're right. So what I'm asking is, let us say all the C's and R's are equal. Okay, all the C's are equal, all the R's are equal, right? This is a feedback loop, and Barkhausen's condition tells you that the phase around the loop should be 0 degree or multiples of 360, right? So if that is the case, this, let us say, this section, what will be the phase shift of one RC section?
That's 60 degree.
Exactly, 60 degree, right? Because already there is a 180 degree provided by your amplifier, and basically you need another 180 degree from all these RC sections. Since they are identical, they need to provide 60 degree each. All right. So for this oscillator, when you apply the Barkhausen's condition, because only when Barkhausen's conditions are satisfied, this will act as an oscillator, right? So you want this angle, this 90 degree minus tan inverse of omega RC should be equal to 60 degree. I think someone's mic is open, so if you can please mute the mic, that will be helpful. Thank you.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, in the graph, sir, how did we get to know that at 45 degree it will be at omega p?
Okay, that's a property of the. I didn't cover that, is it? Okay, so no problem. Let's look at it. All right. So so what is the omega p for this high pass filter? 1 by RC, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. because the transfer function V out by V in of S is nothing but SRC. There is a 0 at DC, 1 plus SRC. So omega P is at 1 by RC, or rather minus 1 by RC. Okay, all right. Now, if you look at this angle, which we derived it to be 90 degrees minus tan inverse of omega RC, right? So if you substitute at omega equal to omega P, what does the angle become? 90 degree minus tan inverse of omega P multiplied by RC. So this factor will become 1, right? So you'll have 90 degrees minus, what is tan inverse of 1?
Sir, 45 degrees.
45, right? So the angle at that particular frequency becomes 45 degrees. Okay. So I think when I drew the board plot, I didn't look at the phase response, I believe. I think I missed it out. I thought I covered it slightly later. Okay. But nevertheless, this is what you will get. So even if you take, let's say, an RC circuit like this, right? So let's say this is V in, V out. So the transfer function will be basically 1 by SC divided by R plus 1 by SC. This becomes 1 by 1 plus SRC, right? So here you don't have a 0. The pole is at minus 1 by RC, correct? Now again, what is the angle of this system? So this is nothing but minus tan inverse of omega RC, right? So at omega equal to omega P, the angle of this RC circuit becomes minus 45 degree. Okay. So for this RC circuit, if you say, okay, this is log of F, and then let us say you have, a low pass filter response like this, or rather this is a passive low pass. So therefore you will have log of F, something like this. This is 0 dB, right? Minus 3 dB is here, right? And this is 1 by 2 pi RC. The phase response, on the other hand, will also look something like this, log of F. So at very low frequencies, what happens? Omega equal to 0, it is tan inverse of 0, so 0 degrees. Right? This is the angle of V out by V in of S. So you start with 0 degree, and then beyond a point, it starts to degrade. Right? At this omega equal to omega P, it will be minus 45 degrees. And then later it will go and then reach asymptotically reach minus 90 degrees. Okay. At omega equal to infinity, you'll have minus 90 degrees. This is for the low pass RC. For the high pass RC, whatever we have seen like this, right? It starts with 90 and goes down to 0. Okay. These are very fundamental properties of RC circuits.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, good you asked and clarified. So anyway, so coming back to our oscillator, so we need, for Barkhausen's conditions to be satisfied, right? You basically need your total angle to be 360, which is 90 degrees minus tan inverse of omega RC to be equal to 180 degrees, right? So what is your tan inverse omega RC? Sorry, this has to be 60 degrees, right? So this becomes 30 degrees, right? So what is tan inverse? I mean, if you take tan on both sides, omega RC is equal to tan of 30 degrees. What is tan of 30 degree?
1 by root 3.
1 by root 3, right? So what is omega here? The omega of the oscillation? 1 by root 3 times RC. All right. Okay. So this is the oscillation frequency. Let's call it as omega naught. This is your oscillation frequency. Now, if you look at the magnitude response, let's say V out by V in of j omega, right? So this is basically omega RC divided by root of 1 plus omega RC, the whole square, right? Now, what is the gain at omega equal to omega naught? What is the magnitude V out by V in? Omega is equal to nothing but 1 by root 3 RC. So you'll have 1 by root 3 at the top divided by root of 1 plus 1 by root 3 the whole square, which is 1 by 3. Okay. So you will have basically 4 by root of 4 by root 3. This will be basically 1 by 2. Correct? So the magnet response of each section, right? So each RC section has a gain of half. So as you cascade 3 of them, what will happen? The gain will become 1 by 8, right? So your K, the amplifier gain, it has to be 1 by 2 the whole cube, the magnitude of gain. Okay, at least if it is greater than or equal to, then your basically if it is equal to, then your Barkhausen's condition is satisfied. Correct. Your loop gain becomes 1. So both magnitude wise and phase wise, if you calculate your loop gain. So basically this RC phase shift amplifier can be implemented in any way. You can use an op amp, you can use a BJT, you can use a MOSFET. Okay, all those realizations are possible. I will just give you the circuit for, let us say, the BJT implementation. Yeah.
Sir, for calculating loop gain, we multiply A into my beta, the feedback factor.
Right.
So, sir,
So here, this is the entire loop, no? This is the full loop.
Yes, sir. So, should not be, sir, the loop gain should be 8. So, we multiply to get 1.
Correct. Correct. That's why I put 1 by 2 the whole cube, no?
No, sir. Means
sorry. So it should be 2 cube. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. Thanks. So I'll just show you the implementation, but we'll not derive it in the class because it is understood. I mean, it's a long derivation. You can always do it, and then you can figure out how you can do. So basically, you have your BJT, which needs to be biased, right? So this is nothing but a common emitter amplifier. Let's call it R1, R2, let's say RC. This is CE, RE, right? And this basically is our amplifier. So now we add this RC section. So here what happens is you do not put this R here, but rather you take it like this, okay? And sorry, you add another R3 here. This R3 is designed in such a way such that the combination of R3, R1, R2 and the impedance seen from here all put together, from this point it becomes an R parallel to R to ground, right? So R3 in series with R1 parallel to R2 parallel to the R pi of this one, the whole thing becomes R. So that's the way you will design it. You can work out the whole thing and then you will see that, you can tap it out at any point basically, right? So this becomes your output, and the same, I mean, you can derive this and then you can find out what is the minimum beta that you require and so on. Okay. All right. So this is an RC phase shift oscillator using BJTs. You can do it using MOSFETs. You can also do it using this thing, op amps. Okay. All right. Okay. So now let us move to another class. Yeah.
Sir, I did not get how we design for R3. So please tell again.
Okay. So if you see from here, basically you should have R going to ground. All right. So yes, what do you see here? See, you have R3 here. If you do the small signal equivalent circuit, what will you get? You will get R1 parallel to R2. And in parallel to this, you will have R pi, because RE is now, of course, at DC, RE will come into the picture, but at the frequency at which we are interested in, it will be basically only R pi going to ground. Now you want to design all this such that this is equal to R. That's it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. All right. So these
Excuse me.
oscillators, yeah.
Sir, could you please explain again why we take the phase shift for 1 to be 60?
Okay, let me explain with this diagram. Okay, so Barkhausen's condition tells us that in the feedback loop, the total phase around the loop should be 0 degree or multiples of 360, right? So here, because I think we couple of classes back we looked at the Barkhausen's condition, so that is the loop gain, right? The loop gain should be equal to 1. So which means the magnitude of the loop gain is 1 and the angle of the loop gain is either 0 degrees or multiples of 360 degrees, right? This is the Barkhausen's conditions. Okay. So if you take this feedback loop, right, if this circuit has to oscillate, the gain around the loop should be 1 and the phase around the loop should be 1. All right. So it should be equal to 0 degrees or 360, multiples of 360 degrees. Now, since we are putting a negative gain amplifier, obviously there is a 180 degree already which has been given to you. You only need to figure out, make up another 180 degree from whatever elements you put in this feedback path, right? What is the elements you put? You put 3 sections of RCs, right? Now, all the 3 sections of this RC network, all this whole thing together should contribute to another 180 degree if the circuit has to oscillate. We are only talking about the phase condition term, right? So since they are identical sections, so each of them will have to contribute 60 degrees. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, why did we choose only 3? Can't we choose more or less?
You can do it. I mean, more number of elements, so that's the only trade-off. See, if you put 2, it is very difficult to get 180 degree because asymptotically it reaches 90 degree. I mean, either you have to be extremely at the low frequency end, so otherwise, you know, you'll have some variation you will never be able to achieve. So minimum that you need is 3.
Okay, sir.
Right? You can have 4, you can have 5. I mean, if you put 4, then it becomes 180 divided by 4, which is 45 degree. Right? So it's possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So in all these circuits, these RC oscillators, basically the Weinbridge oscillator and this RC phase shift oscillator, the point that we have made is that, I mean, the point that you should have in mind is that these oscillators work at the kind of the kilohertz range, right? Because the assumption here is that the op-amp's bandwidth is greater than the frequency of oscillation, all right? Or in other words, even and if you are using a MOSFET or a BJT, you assume that the internal capacitances are lesser than the capacitance used in the oscillator, right? So these oscillators can be used for low frequencies, like how you did in the lab, let's say a few kilohertz or maybe tens of kilohertz. Now, if you want to have oscillators which work at much higher frequencies, we cannot use these RC oscillators because your op-amp's bandwidth will come into the picture. Your op-amp's slew rate will also come into the picture because we looked at slew rate, right? A omega is the maximum this thing, and therefore, you know, that comes into the picture. So we need to use a different class of oscillators, which is what is called as the LC oscillators. Okay. Now these LC oscillators, they are used till very high frequencies. In fact, even going into gigahertz range, tens of gigahertz. And now, of course, the recent researchers, I mean, have been working at tens and hundreds of gigahertz also. In all these oscillators, you basically use LC oscillators, okay? Now, as the name suggests, this is basically you are going to have an inductor and a capacitor, right? Probably not one inductor and one capacitor. There are topologies where you have multiple inductors and or multiple capacitors. Now, before I go into it, I just want to know whether have you studied tuned circuits in network analysis, like the bandpass response and the phase response, quality factor of inductors?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Not yet. Okay. All right. Then let me do one thing. I will kind of pause it here. We will probably a couple of weeks later, we'll try to revisit, LC oscillators and tuned amplifiers, because I mean, I can sit and teach about LC networks, RLC networks here, but then since you already will be spending time in the network analysis class looking at the quality factor of tuned networks and the series RLC. So series RLC, parallel RLC, the frequency response you still haven't done, right?
Not the frequency response.
Not the frequency response. Okay. So let me do one thing. So I will just kind of pause our discussion on oscillators here. LC oscillators, tuned amplifiers, both of them require that fundamentals to be covered. So I will take probably towards the last week of the course, where by the time I believe it would be already covered in your network analysis course. Okay. All right. So then what we will do is we will, so far we looked at the sinusoidal oscillators. Now let us look at the nonlinear oscillators or function generators, right? All right. Okay. Now, what we will, so here, of course, we have already studied about the bistable multivibrator, right? Which is also called as the Schmidt trigger. And what is the Schmidt trigger? Basically, it gives you, we studied both the inverting and the non-inverting bistable multivibrators, right? And what is the what is the main feature of a Schmidt trigger? It has hysteresis. What is hysteresis? Right. So we already saw what is hysteresis, right? So maybe, I mean, when you are going in one particular direction, let us say you are going up like this, right? And when you're returning, probably you will return like this. Okay. One of the applications is basically, I mean, this can be in both ways, right? So I gave you the example of a water pump, or automatic water pump filling. So if you take that as the example, let us say this is your this thing. So once it reaches a low value, right, it will turn on, right? And then once it reaches a little higher value, it's basically going to turn off, something like this, right? So this is one application, and sorry, yeah. Okay, so you have these kinds of so I think it's this, it's like this, right? Yeah, okay, right. This is the Schmidt trigger. So you can have the inverting as well as the non-inverting Schmidt trigger. Now we are going to use this Schmidt trigger and one RC network around it and make it to work as another multivibrator. Okay, so let us look at that. So it is called as an astable multivibrator. So let us start off with an inverting Schmidt trigger. What is an inverting Schmidt trigger? You have the op amp. Let's say this is plus minus. You have the positive feedback network, which is, let's say, R1 and R2. This is grounded. If this becomes your input, this is nothing but your this is your inverting Schmidt trigger, right? This we have already done in the lab also, right? And we have already covered this, right? Now, can you tell me what is the behavior of this Schmidt trigger? let's say if this is Vin, what is the high threshold? So let us say if my Vin is increasing from a negative value, right? Let us say we start off with Vin negative, right? Then what will happen? What will be the output here?
So VTH. Sorry, VSAT.
Okay, let's call it VSAT plus VSAT, right? And then what will be this V plus node? It will be VSAT multiplied by R1 divided by R1 plus R2. Correct. So let us call this as, what do you call it as? VTH, correct? Now, as Vin increases and crosses VTH, right? Vin crossing VTH, what will happen? Vout will become minus VSAT, right? And V plus node will be what?
So mine will VSAT R1 divided by R1.
R1 divided by R1 plus R2. So let's call this as VTL, right? Now, what I'm going to do is that this is the behavior. So we just had a refresher of the behavior. Let me just push up this circuit. Sorry, this is R1, this is R2, this is Vout. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one RC circuit here. Okay. In analog design, you know, people love resistors and capacitors and op-amp. So everything pretty much will revolve around, you know, some R, some C, and some voltage source, current source, op-amp, transistor. That's it. Okay, so analog design is very simple. You work with very limited number of elements. Anyway, so if you do, let us say if you put a circuit like this, okay, let us try to understand what will happen. Okay, now let us assume that you're starting off with a negative voltage, or let us say you are starting off initially, let VC of 0 be 0 volt. Okay, that is the voltage of, let's call it as VC. This voltage is basically 0 initially to start off with. You are powering on the system. Now what will happen? What will be V out? Come on, guys. Negative terminal is at 0, right? What will be the output voltage?
So minus VSAT.
Let us say, you know, it is
Sorry,
going
plus
up.
VSAT.
Let us say it's going to plus VSAT. Let's say V out of 0 also is plus VSAT. All right. Yeah, of course, I understand. Sorry. I mean, it can be either way. So, I mean, it can go either way depending on the offset and so on. Let us assume that V out of 0 is plus VSAT. All right. Okay. Now, and V plus is, of course, R1 divided by R1 plus R2 times VSAT. All right. Now, what will happen? What will happen to this capacitor? Will it remain to be at 0?
No, sir.
Okay. What will happen to the capacitor?
So there will be some voltage drop across the capacitor because VP equal to VM.
No, VP equal to VM doesn't happen here because right now we are talking about, I mean, okay, you have two feedback loops. VP equal to VM you cannot apply here. Okay, because you are having a very strong positive feedback here, right? So it will either go to one of the rails.
Sir, capacitor will charge.
Capacitor will charge. Very good, right? Because it is like you can equivalently say your Vout is now plus VSAT, and you have a resistor and you have a capacitor, right? Now, obviously, this capacitor will charge. So how will it charge? How can you write VC of t? How can we write VC of t? So you can kind of think of it as, you know, the output has gone from, let's say, some value like a step response to plus VSAT, right? and you have this RC connected to it. How will it charge? Will it charge linearly? Will it charge exponentially? Will it charge quadratically?
Exponentially.
Exponentially. Basically, it is like the step, it is nothing but the step response of your RC circuit, right? So it will basically
Yes, sir.
kind of have a exponential increase. Now, can you tell me what is the exponential value? How can you write this?
Sir, VSAT times
Okay,
1
we
minus
said 1 minus.
e power e minus t by RC.
Perfect, right? This is your capacitor voltage. All right. Now, as this capacitor starts charging, okay, let us say it started with 0, right? Let's say it's from 0 volt it started charging, but at a particular point it is reaching R1 by R1 plus R2 multiplied by VSAT, which is nothing but your VTH, right? Once it reaches VTH, what will happen? What will happen to VSAT?
Sir,
Look at this
minus
diagram. Yeah, so this, if I were to draw, let's say this is kind of charging out. Let's say this goes to VTH, but the moment it touches VTH, what will happen? The polarity will flip, right?
Flip.
Because it's a positive feedback circuit, right? And Vout will become minus VSAT, right? So when Vc of t reaches VTH, Vout will become minus VSAT. Is it clear to everyone? We
Yes, sir.
started off with 0, and under those conditions, let us say we assume that the output is plus VSAT. I mean, you can do that with minus VSAT also, you'll get pretty much the same result, right? Now the capacitor is charging up because it's an RC circuit, charging up to a particular voltage. But as it is charging, it reaches the higher threshold voltage, which is VTH. And when it reaches that, it will flip. So Vout becomes VSAT. Okay. Now, what is the value of, what is the time that it takes for this capacitor to reach VTH? How will you find out? So we can basically put VTH is equal to VSAT 1 minus e power minus, let us call it as T1 by RC. Correct? Because at time t equal to T1, Vout becomes, sorry, VC becomes VTH. What is VTH? It's nothing but VSAT multiplied by R1 divided by R1 plus R2. This is VSAT 1 minus e power minus T1 by RC, right? Now, this is basically your, this one, right? Now, what is your T1? Let us calculate T1, all right? So you can take, in order to kind of simplify things, let's define a factor beta, which is given by R1 divided by R1 plus R2, okay? Just to keep the expression less messy, all right? So, right? So basically, this is what, okay, so let's stop with this one. Now, what happens is it starts to discharge, right? Now, in the discharge phase, what happens? Basically, this is R, C. Now, what is the voltage across the capacitor here? It is beta times VSAT plus beta times VSAT. Now, this becomes minus VSAT. Yes, understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So when the flipping happens, already you are having plus beta times VSAT, and now you have to charge to this one. Now, can you tell me VC of t? What will be the expression? You would have studied, I'm sure, or you have already studied and written quizzes in network analysis for your RC networks. So initially it was easy because we started off with 0 volt, right? So now let us try to understand how much it is. So have you come across this kind of a short form thing, V final minus V initial minus V final minus V initial times e power minus T by RC?
No, sir.
No, okay. Or how do you solve this? You tell me, how do you solve this RC circuit when you have this problem? How do you solve it?
So we again use our for S domain we can use convert them into the transform impedance, then solve it, or in time domain we
Time domain, because right now I'm asking for VC of T. I want time domain.
so in time domain we write the differential equation and apply the initial condition.
Correct. So if you apply that, so okay. Have you studied a little easier way of doing it? Like you anyway have some kind of A e power minus T by RC plus, some constant, right? And then you find out at T equal to infinity what happens. At T equal to 0 what happens.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you at T equal to infinity what happens? Vc of T will be equal to minus Vsat, which is equal to e power minus infinity is 0, you have B, right? And then at T equal to 0, what happens?
So beta Vc.
Yeah. So Vc of T is nothing but plus beta Vsat, which is equal to A e power minus, this becomes 0, A plus B. So what is A? Beta Vsat minus, Vsat. This basically becomes beta minus 1 times Vsat, right? Or you can write 1 minus beta times minus, okay, this basically this is what you get, right? Sorry,
Yes, sir.
sorry. This is A is basically equal to beta times Vsat minus B. So here it is minus Vsat, so it becomes plus Vsat. So it becomes Vsat times 1 plus beta, correct? So Vc of T can be written as what? 1 plus beta times Vsat multiplied by e power minus T by RC plus, or rather in this case, minus Vsat. Correct? All right. So this is what you would basically get. There is another kind of a short form expression, which is like you can, this is how I learned it. Like you can verify it. So you can write it as V final minus V initial minus V final minus V initial e power minus T by RC. So in this case, what is the final voltage that it's going to result in? Minus Vsat. Right?
It's, I think,
What is the initial
final
voltage? Minus B side beta times Vsat. This thing minus Vsat minus beta times Vsat times e power minus T by RC. Okay. So you'll kind of basically have the same thing here, right? You'll have Vsat times 1 plus beta. There is a negative sign which is coming in. So here you'll also have plus Vsat times 1 plus beta times e power minus T by RC. What did we get here? Okay.
Sir, in this formula, we have only V final. So you have written V final.
Yeah, you're right. V final minus initial. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot that. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. So it becomes V final, which is nothing but minus Vsat. Right? It becomes minus Vsat. Yeah. So basically, this is the expression. So if you can remember this expression, yeah, thanks for correcting. It's been a long time. I forgot that. So it's V final minus V initial into e to the power of minus T by RC. The final voltage is minus Vsat, and then you have V final minus Vsat. This is the expression that you get. Okay. Now, again, what will happen? This is basically charging towards minus Vsat. and it will reach a point where it becomes, when Vc of t becomes minus beta times Vsat, then Vout will switch to plus Vsat. Correct? Now, what are you seeing here? You're beginning to see a pattern here. So the capacitor is charging. I mean, if it is plus Vsat, the capacitor is charging there, and then it flips the sign. And once it flips the sign, it's going to discharge and come to the VTL value and again flip the sign. So if you leave it to run, your output is going to be basically switching between plus Vsat and minus Vsat. All right. Now, what is the time period and other things we will calculate in tomorrow's class. But I hope you understood this concept. So you have an RC circuit. All you did was you took a negative, an inverting Schmitt trigger, and you connected an RC circuit in its feedback path. And all this RC circuit doing is basically trying to charge up and discharge down to whatever value you are having, and automatically it becomes a square wave generator here, where you are going to, where output is going to switch between plus Vsat and minus Vsat. Okay, we will derive the time equation and other things in the next class. All right, any doubts, any questions? All right, okay, thank you guys, take care. Bye bye. Yeah.
Sir, not a doubt actually, but about the lab reports, can you please upload the Moodle submission for the last two labs, last three labs?
I haven't done that. Yeah, let me do that. So last lab was Weinbridge oscillator. Before that, you did Schmitt trigger, right? And
Yes,
yes,
before
sir.
that, it was the inverting, non-inverting, and unity gain.
No, sir, no, sir.
The constant
voltage
current source and voltage source.
Constant voltage.
Oh, voltage and current sources. Yeah. Right. I will enable those things. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for reminding. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.